Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever applies to you. I hope you're well and welcome to Big Foodie Geek. So as you will have seen by the title of the video today, I am doing 3 things with tofu. Now this video came about because a few months ago I went and visited my lovely friend Lucy, and when I went to visit Lucy I saw her lovely sister Jen, hi Jen, I know you watch, and also her lovely mum and dad who I'd never met before. And when I was chatting to her mum, she knows I do the channel so I know a bit about cooking and stuff. She was asking me what to do with tofu because she had some, but she wasn't 100% sure what to do with it because it's a brilliant ingredient. It really is. It's so versatile, but it can be a little bit tricky to know what you're doing with it and get the best out of it if you've never really used it before. Because tofu by itself is quite bland. It is made out of soybeans, and if you don't do anything with it, it is bland AF. I think that's why so many people still turn their noses up at it, because by itself, it doesn't really do a lot. But so's chicken. If you don't do anything with chicken, it is bland AF. Similar deal. But when you know what to do with tofu and different types of tofu, it is a fantastic ingredient. Obviously, it's a brilliant vegan alternative, and you can do so much with it. So that's why I thought today I will show you 3 different things to do with tofu, and different types of tofu as well. So I'm going to show you 3 different recipes today, and we're going to start off with breakfast with a tofu scramble. Now scrambled tofu is a pretty common dish out there now. It is a really common alternative for scrambled eggs, and there are loads of brilliant different recipes out there for scrambled tofu. Today I'm going to show you my twist, which is not really looking to try and emulate scrambled eggs in any way, shape or form, but it is to provide a lovely tasty breakfast which packs in flavour but also other bits and pieces. So I'm adding things like some nice veg into mine to create like a tofu scramble that will be really enjoyable for breakfast and a bit of a kick as well. And for this recipe I'm going to be using this tofu, which is a extra firm tofu from the Tofu company. So it's their naked tofu. So this is actually great because it's got very, very little water, so you don't really need to drain it off much. And the other great thing about this, because there is so little water, you don't need to press it down, drain it off or anything like that. So it is no fuss and you can just use it straight away. So let's get on with our first recipe, a tofu scramble. Our tofu scramble really is quite simple. So I've got a large pan here over a medium-high heat with a little bit of olive oil. And to really lift this scramble, I've got a bunch of veg here. So I've got onion, green pepper, some garlic and some red chilli. Obviously, if you don't want a kick, then this probably isn't the scramble for you, but you can leave the red chilli out, but I am going for a bit of a kick with this one. So I'm going to pop this all in, and I'm just going to cook it over this heat until we get some nice colour on these vegetables. Keep moving them around. We don't want any of them to burn, especially not the garlic, otherwise that will be horribly bitter. Now we're starting to get some nice colour onto those vegetables. We want to pop in our tofu. So I'm using the tofu from the Tofu company. This is the extra firm one. You can see it's already really packed down. They've vacuum packed it in with a little bit of water, but this means it doesn't really need any draining at all, apart from the little bit of water it comes with. So I've just dried it off with some kitchen towel. I'm just going to pop this in, and then I'm just going to use a spoon just to break it up. You could chop it up beforehand, but I find it breaks up very, very easily with the spoon. Then we start mixing that in with our vegetables, allowing that to cook through. It's going to need a good probably like 4 or 5 minutes to get cooked through properly. And just keep breaking it up as you see fit, depending on how big a chunks you want. If you wanted this to be more like a tofu hash, you could probably chuck some potatoes in with this. That would work very, very well as well. Now our tofu's had a few minutes, we want to get our seasonings into there. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of smoked paprika, probably about a teaspoon's worth, some mild chili powder, about half a teaspoon this time, some cayenne pepper. I said this has got a kick to it, so about half a teaspoon of that as well. And then I'm adding in some nutritional yeast. This is great stuff because it adds a little bit of a funk, almost like a cheesiness or an egginess. So if you are trying to emulate like scrambled egg, this stuff is brilliant. So probably about a tablespoon's worth in there. That's smelling absolutely incredible now, but we're also going to go in with my secret weapon for this, which is a bit of gochujang paste, which is a Korean paste, and it's made of yellow bean paste, red peppers, soy sauce and habanero chili, so even more of a kick now. So a teaspoon of that in there, and let's mix that all through. This just lifts it up, and gochujang is a brilliant thing just to keep in your store cupboard to add to not just like, you know, Asian recipes, but any recipe really. We shouldn't really limit ourselves to our usual seasonings in our conventional recipes. We have all these brilliant sauces and seasonings available to us from other countries now. We should use them. And then lastly, to add a bit of creaminess to that, I'm using some oat cream. Not too much, probably about a tablespoon's worth. Just adds that kind of like final touch to it. That smells absolutely incredible. So I'm going to get this served up and then I'm going to give it a taste because it smells amazing. So I'm just going to serve this up on a lovely bit of homemade bread. This is a beer bread I made yesterday. And yes, it is toasted because us Brits love anything on toast. Just going to pop across me scramble. Then I'm just finishing that off with a little bit of sriracha. That looks and smells incredible, so I can't wait to tuck into that, so I'm not gonna. Okay, let's get stuck into this tofu scramble, shall we? I've just cut myself a piece off camera, so I don't have to try and cut the toast while standing up. Let's get a little bit of everything there. Cheers. Woo. 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 That has got a flavour coming out of the wazoo. There is so much flavour packed into that. That is so good. And yes, there is a kick to it. It's a bit of a grower, but it's not overwhelming. It's not. It is just about right, because I think that tofu evens it out. You've got some of that oat cream as well, which helps too. And it is delicious. And that gochujang really lifts it up a bit. It is a powerhouse of flavour, and it is absolutely delicious. That is a brilliant breakfast, lunch, brunch, even a dinner if you wanted to. That is super tasty. So I'm going to go off and finish this, and I'll be back in a bit, but really it'll be a few seconds. But I'm going to go and enjoy this. So for our second recipe today, I'm going to show you how to make a Thai green curry, but a tofu Thai green curry. So it is going to be vegan, and it is going to be delicious, and it's going to have so much flavour, and it's going to be super simple as well. But I'm going to show you how to lift it up with some fresh ingredients. I love Thai green curry. It is a nice, fairly mild curry, but it is beautiful. It's got all those lovely Asian flavours in it, and this is a brilliant dish to use tofu for. And for this recipe, I'm going to be using this tofu from Cauldron. It's a firm tofu, but this one is actually in water, so we need to get as much of the liquid out of this as we possibly can, and then we're going to make sure this is crispy by coating it in corn flour and then frying it first before we use it. So it's going to get a nice crisp texture, and it's going to taste amazing in that Thai green curry because it's going to soak up all the flavours from it. So let's get on with making our Thai green curry. The first thing we want to do for our Thai green curry is get our tofu out and get it drained, because we want to do that ahead of time to get as much of that liquid out as possible. There's loads of water in this, so it's going to go everywhere. See, that is absolutely swimming in water, which keeps it fresh, but it does mean we have to get that all drained out. So what I like to do is get some kitchen towel, and then just wrap that in the kitchen towel, and then pop it into a bowl. Then we want to weigh this down. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a tin of new potatoes and then a tin of baked beans on top of it to help really press that down. And then I'm going to pop that into the fridge to help squeeze out all the excess water, or as much of the excess water as possible, so we can come back later when we're ready to make our Thai green curry, and hopefully that will help load of the water to have come out. For our Thai green curry, we are going to be using a Thai green curry paste as our base, and that kind of rhymes. Thai green curry paste from a jar is perfectly good because it does a lot of the work for you, and it's got a lot of things in there that are a little bit harder to get hold of over here in the UK from usual supermarkets. Things like galangal, that's a little bit harder to get hold of. So it does a lot of the work for you. But we are going to lift this up with some of our own fresh ingredients as well. So in addition to our paste, we're going to blitz together some ginger, a couple of green chilies, a couple of cloves of garlic, half an onion, and some lemongrass, along with a bit of lime juice. So we're going to use this to create like an additional paste to go with our main curry paste. So I've got about ½ inch ginger there. I'm not going to do anything else with that. Just going to cut the tops off these chilies and then just cut them into smaller pieces. Garlic cloves can stay whole, and then I'm going to just roughly chop my onion. The lemongrass can be quite tricky if you've never used it before because it is very tough. It's like a stick. So I'm just going to chop an end off and chop the other end off and cut it into smaller pieces as possible. And I'm just going to get rid of some of the tougher outer parts. Then I'm going to pop this all into a food processor, pop the lid on my food processor, and then blitz this up into a paste. There we go, look at that. That is another lovely green paste we've got there. So that will really just enhance our curry paste that we've got there with some nice fresh ingredients as well as what's in the jar. Let's turn our attention back to our tofu. So this has been sat in the fridge for a good few hours, sat under that weight, and you can see that's now pressed out a lot of that liquid. So we can now get this coated so we can turn it nice and crispy to enable us to have some nice texture on it, but also absorb all the flavour from that Thai green curry. So I'm just going to cut this into nice size cubes. So in this bowl I've got about 50 grams of plain flour and 50 grams of corn flour. So I like this mix to get a nice crispy coating onto our tofu. So I'm just going to pop these into here and just get these coated. on all sides with a little bit of that flour. That's our tofu all coated in that corn flour. So we can now get on with cooking this and making our actual curry. So I've got a wok here over a very high heat with some groundnut oil in here, or peanut oil. Usually if I'm doing this sort of thing, I would use sesame oil, but I don't have any at the moment. So that oil is very, very hot. So I'm going to pop in our tofu. I'm going to do half of it to start off with because I don't want to overcrowd the pan and then end up with soggy tofu. I want this nice and crisp. So you can see we're getting some lovely colour on that. I'm just giving it about 30 seconds on each side, just because I don't want to burn it. I just want to get some nice colour on it. So that's our tofu with some nice colour on it and nice and crisp. And in here, I'm going to chuck in some aubergine, or eggplant as it's called in other places. And I just want to get some colour onto here too. Not too much, because if I overcook this, it will end up very, very soggy, which I don't want. So that's had a couple of minutes. I don't want to do any more than that. Just a little bit of colour on that aubergine. Now we want to cook off our paste. So I'm going in with a couple of generous tablespoons, and then our own paste as well. And then I'm just going to cook out these pastes just for a minute, just to get out some of that really raw flavour. Now that's had a minute to cook off, I'm going to put in 250 millilitres of vegetable stock. Then in with that, I want to put in a tin of coconut milk. Full fat, none of this light coconut milk today. You want all that lovely cream and fattiness in there. Usually at this point I put in some fish sauce, but again, going vegan today. So instead of that, I am using some soy sauce, probably about a tablespoon's worth. That gives us that lovely salty umami-ness that we would get from the fish sauce. I brought our sauce up to a simmer, so I'm popping in a couple of kaffir lime leaves there. Much like bay leaves, I have no idea what they add, but people use them all the time, so I've added them. Then into here, we're adding in our tofu and our aubergine. And I'm also adding in some new potato as well. So that's going to need a bit to cook because of the potato. So I'm going to start to get some rice on here. Usually I would use jasmine rice, but I'm using basmati today because that's what I've got. If anyone's watching from Thailand and is thinking this is not traditional, then I apologise. I'm just trying to be economical using things that I've already got to create this rather than being traditional. I do prefer to be traditional, but I'm moving soon. I'm trying to save money, hence using things that I've got. So this has had about 10 minutes and you can see it's thickening up nicely. So I'm just going to put in my final ingredient, and that is a good handful of mange choux. And I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes just to lightly cook those mange choux. This has had another couple of minutes, so I think this is ready to serve up. That sauce is thickened, it's smelling amazing. It's not the greenest Thai green curry ever. To be honest, I don't know how you get those really green and vibrant Thai green curries that you see. So if anyone knows, let me know, because I would love to be able to cook a really vibrant, authentic Thai green curry. Right, I've got some of my rice served up there, which isn't the crappiest rice I've ever made. Not bad, I have done worse rice than that. One day I will invest in a rice cooker. And I'm serving up some of that lovely tofu, aubergine, potatoes and mange choux. There we go, that is not the prettiest Thai green curry in the world, but it does smell really good. So I'm going to give this a try while it is still nice and hot. Right, there's our Thai green curry, or should I say Thai green curry, because there's probably not much traditional about that whatsoever. But what it does is smell amazing, and I'm sure it will taste amazing, and this is a great way to use tofu, like I said. And that's what it's all about today, trying out things with tofu to see what you can do with it. So I am going to dive right in, get a good chunk of the tofu just by itself, and see what flavour we've packed into that. Cheers. Oh yeah, that is delicious. That is really nice. Obviously you've kind of lost some of the crispiness from where it's been in the curry, but getting that coating on there really helps with the texture. Once you get a bit of everything there, brings it all together nicely. Nice little bit of crunch from those mange choux and all those flavours from the curry paste, and also the additional flavours that we blitzed up together. They come through, they are absolutely amazing. It's really refreshing. It's not much of a looker, but it's got it where it counts in the flavour. That is really good. But obviously, after a main course, what do you want? You want a dessert. You might be thinking, what? Dessert with tofu? Matt, what are you on about? But if you've watched the channel before, then you know that's not such an unusual thing, because I have made a tofu dessert before. I made a tofu cheesecake using silken tofu, and that's what I'm going to be using again today, which is this stuff. So silken tofu, and it's a very different texture to the firm tofus I showed you earlier. As it says, it's very silken, it's very soft, it's very smooth and glossy and silky. And this is amazing for kind of like substituting in creamy type textures. When you blitz it up, it turns really, really creamy, and it is amazing for that. But today we're using it for a dessert, and I'm going to create basically like a chocolate mousse using this stuff. And it is so simple. It's going to be 3 ingredients, and it's going to be no effort whatsoever. So let's make that dessert because it's going to be amazing. Now, if you've never seen silken tofu before, here's what it looks like. So you can see it's basically like a very big block of very silky tofu. This one's broken up a bit, but that's fine because we're going to be blitzing it up anyway. But that's what it's looked like. It is so silky and glossy. It is amazing. It may not look very appetizing like that, but trust me, when we're done with it, it's going to taste amazing. Probably won't even be able to tell that there's going to be tofu in this. So I've got a food processor here, which I'm just going to pop this silken tofu into, and then I'm just going to blitz it up until it's really smooth with a really creamy texture. So if you look at that, you can see how lovely and silky and creamy that tofu is now. That is exactly what we want. But obviously we can't just leave it like this, because like that, it's just going to taste like silky, creamy tofu bean paste. So we need to pack in lovely flavors into this for our dessert. And for that, I've got 200 grams of dark chocolate. If you want to make this a vegan dessert, you've got to make sure it is probably about at least 70% dark chocolate with no sort of like milk or anything like that added to it. So I'm going to pop this into the microwave on 30-second bursts until it melts completely. Look at that lovely silky glossy chocolate to add to our lovely silky glossy tofu. Now we just need to add that dark chocolate into there. I am doing this really badly, getting my hand in the way. So popping that dark chocolate into there. And then for our third ingredient, we're just popping in some espresso, which gives it a really lovely coffee flavour and also really helps lift that dark chocolate as well. So that's going in. And then we set this off one more time to bring this all together. There we go, look how silky and glossy that looks. That looks absolutely incredible. So now we just need to get this into something to allow it to set up in the fridge. So I'm going to be using this dish, so I'm going to just plop it all in here. And then let's just spread that out. Now, if you want more than this, then obviously you can double the recipe, triple the recipe, depending on how much you want. But this should be enough to last me for, well, I was going to say a couple of days, but maybe that's optimistic because this is so good. Then what I like to do to finish this off is just get some more dark chocolate and just grate it over the top, just as a nice decoration, and also a little bit of texture on the top there as well. There we go, that is now ready to go into the fridge for a couple of hours until we are ready to consume. Consume? Why did I put it that way? Either way, it's going into the fridge. So here's the mousse we've made earlier. It has set up really well, really well. I haven't bothered serving it up into a bowl because basically what I want to do is just be able to take a scoop out of it so you can kind of see the texture of this, because I know this is going to be really good. I'm going to sort of balance it on my shoulder there, and I'm just going to take a lovely scooping away from this, because that is really smooth. Do you see how smooth that is? Look how smooth and glossy that is. That is incredible. Just look at it. Look how lovely that looks. That looks amazing. So, cheers, I'm going to try this, but I know it's going to be amazing. Oh, that is so good. The 3 ingredients, one of them being silken tofu, that is incredible. So little effort, so good, so tasty, beautiful texture, so glossy. Oh, that is the best one out of the 3 by far. And they're all good. They all taste amazing, but that is a level above, and it is so simple. There's absolutely no reason not to try it out. It is so good. Right, I'll put that back in the fridge away from me for now so I can actually finish this video. Otherwise I will quite happily stand there and eat that whole mousse by itself. But there you go, 3 different ways to use tofu. One for like a breakfast, lunch, brunch idea, one for a main, and one for a dessert. And that is just the very tip of the iceberg of what you can do with tofu. It's such a versatile ingredient. It is really underrated, I think, still. Even though it has gained in popularity, I think a lot of people are still skeptical about what you can do with it. But it is really versatile, and it is such a great alternative in so many dishes. So that is why it has gained that popularity. So that's it for another video. I hope you found it useful, informative, entertaining, whatever. If you try those recipes, let me know. If you tweak them, improve them, again, let me know. Again, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to find out when new videos are going up, and I will see you next time on Big Foodie Geek. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome. Hello and I can't even wave today. Oh dear.